We're the voices of experiencers, and we are the experiences with extraterrestrials.
So we're talking the difference between cloning, in my eyes, and then actually creating a being out of the egg and that way having it born, and so that's the take I get from it.
It's time for disclosure. It's time for truth, because truth brings powerful transformations.
So it makes me wonder what the degree of spectrum is of how they could appear. Just do most of them look almost human, but not quite? Or some of them not at all human, and there's just so many questions there. And is there judgment of what will pass as human, and what happens sometimes, I guess, when do these beings arrive here? Do they come as adults? I don't know. There's so much there.
We're the voices of change and profound evolution.
But, if it's
so the
creating...
the ends will justify the means.
Yeah.
Possibly. I mean, if it's creating a different being, part human and part whatever, is this the evolution that we are facing?
We're the bridge between two different worlds.
It just raises so many more questions because, we're talking about one species, right? One race. So we can't say that all of them are doing it for this way.
Right,
you know what I mean?
right.
It's easy to paint with a broad brush. So what we're saying is, what we have in front of us that Mary's presented, is that these particular people, maybe they're a subgroup of a larger group, we don't know, but they are doing what you hear all through from the beginning. I wish Bud was here in my room because this is what he was talking about, and so it raises some ethical questions, from our perspective as human beings and living in this body and stuff. But you also want to keep it confined to this. For what we know with this particular species, they're not Nordics, they're not reptilians, they're not, Arcturians. This particular species, we don't even know. This is what they're doing.
Mm-hmm.
This is what they're doing. Okay, we don't know if this is some plan that all extraterrestrials do, and they're trying to weed out and raise the vibration of the human race. We just know what she's telling us from her experience here.
Yeah. True.
Yeah,
True.
yeah. That's my concern.
Yeah.
Profound integration is coming.
It's like they're pushing some evolution of something. They're trying to speed it up.
What type of evolution?
I don't know, something they want us to be like.
Be like what?
Able to see the big picture. Able to willing to see the big picture.
What's the big picture?
That everything that we know about is one big organism. It's not a lot of separate things.
Just who are extraterrestrials? Let's find out with the voices of contact.
We are the voices of experiencers because we are the experiencers. It's time for disclosure and it's time for truth because truth brings powerful transformation. And we are the voices of change. We're about evolution on an expansive level, living life without fear and becoming the bridge between two different realities. Profound evolution is here. Profound integration is here. This is the Voices of Contact. Hi, everyone. I'm Mary. I am a channeler and psychic medium. I'm also a hypnosis regressionist for ET experiencers, and I work with MUFON doing regression work. I also work with PTSD experiencers, paranormal experiencers, and victims of crime to assist them in recall. I'm really looking forward to another amazing show with our panel tonight. I just want to say to you guys that the work that you're doing here with me is so impactful. It's life-changing, and I thank you for being here with me. It means more than you realize, to me, as well as the listeners. We have Michael Carter, and he is a lifetime UFO contactee, author of Alien Scriptures, Extraterrestrials, and the Holy Bible, and he's also a regular consultant on the Histories Channel Ancient Aliens series, as well as being featured in several UFO documentaries. Next, we have Bill Konkoleski, and he has been the state director of the Michigan MUFON chapter since 2004. Besides writing 2 books on his own personal contact experiences, he's contributed to numerous other UFO-related books, as well as television productions. Last but not least, we have Deb and RJ DeRoos. They're authors, paranormal UFO researchers, and they're experiencers themselves. They're also the founders of the Michigan UFO Contact that happens every year in Houghton Lake, Michigan at the end of September, and owners and managers of Mystical Awakenings Radio, Mystical Awakenings Vodcast on YouTube, and of the Mystical Awakenings Metaphysical Store in Houghton Lake, Michigan. Now, the show is all about transmutating the light from the dark to replace fear with knowledge. Through my regression work, I have come across some amazing cases with some amazing clients, and I've worked with them to help them have a better understanding of the contact that they've had, whether they were taken, whether it was just regular contact, or if it was just a dream. I'm fortunate enough that my clients have agreed to allow me to use the regressions on the voices of contact. Here, the panel will break down the experiences and provide profound feedback. So not only do all of the listeners get to connect and learn, the person that I regressed walks away immersed in their experience with a new perspective on their experience. So literally, it's a win-win, right? This is the Voices of Contact. All right. So to give a little bit of feedback on tonight's episode, it kind of correlates exactly with last week's episode. And we're going to tap in more to the subconscious part and get some questions answered. So exactly why were they taking her eggs? What was the point of it? Because there's definitely more to that story. And that's what we're looking for, right? We want the answers. So let me play the first clip for you. The first question I have is when Nate was taken, did she experience missing time?
Yeah, she should have gotten home a lot sooner.
How much time do you think she missed?
About 4 hours.
Why do the beings come and take her eggs?
It's easier than starting with skin.
What do you mean by that?
It's easier to fertilize the eggs and grow them than it is to grow something from scratch from skin.
What are they growing?
People.
What do you call these people?
I don't have a name for them.
Where do these people go after they're created?
They live on the ships.
They live on the ships?
Some of them live on the ships.
Where do the other ones go?
If they look enough like humans, some of them stay here. If they don't look enough like humans, then they work on the ship.
What's the purpose of creating all these people to live on Earth? So, yeah. My biggest thing was, okay, so she was taken in a part of what we didn't show last week was when she was actually taken aboard the craft. And so I kind of kept this to myself when RJ was talking about, I wonder if you've ever heard of when they just take the whole car. That's exactly what they did. Okay. And we'll get into that further, tapping into the subconscious. But
I was curious with all of that going on with her if she had missing time, because isn't that normally a thing? Is usually you have missing time with that, because it was her mom that was waiting for her when she got home and was wondering where she was at. And the idea that they take eggs because then you don't have to start from scratch from skin, it fascinating. I really don't have any words for it.
So we're talking the difference between cloning, in my eyes, and then actually creating a being out of the egg and that way having it born. And so that's the take I get from it, that they meant.
Hmm.
So what do you think, this is going to be a weird question. What do they do with the eggs after they take them?
Well, I think they're going to inject them with sperm.
They would have to fertilize them somehow if they are making beings out of them. And it's obvious that it's not human sperm, because she said if they look enough like humans,
Right.
they're allowed to live on Earth.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking too.
Mm-hmm.
That they don't have. It's not an exact science that they could, create the outcome. And some people, will look different. And if they can pass, I'm just going to use the word passing, then they can stay here.
Right.
And the other people will stay on the ship.
So it makes me wonder what the degree of spectrum is of how they could appear. Just do most of them look almost human, but not quite, or some of them not at all human? And there's just so many questions there. And is there judgment of what will pass as human really a good valuation of what people would think would pass as human? And what happens sometimes, I guess, if when do these beings arrive here? Do they come as adults? I don't know, there's so much there.
Yes.
Yeah, or is the eggs fertilized there and reimplanted in a human being?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it makes me wonder how many of us are
Reimplanted.
Yeah, right. Yeah. This is really an interesting one. A little bit.
And we could be talking about different kinds of species mixing with different kind of eggs. I don't know if that's possible. I don't think that's, like you can't have a dog mate with a cat unless you get Cat Dog in the cartoon. But I don't know. It's got to be some similarities there. It has to. It has to happen. I mean, we're talking about supposedly two different species, right? Or like you said, Bill, are they really human looking? Are they very human looking? Are they have a lot of genetics that we have?
Right.
Some differences.
When she says that they stay here, that's a big thing. That almost sounds like they're here for life.
Meaning that they're here now.
Yeah.
Right.
You know what you don't tend to hear much, unless I'm just the one that doesn't hear these stories, is somebody saying that they are from elsewhere and that their mission is to be here to observe, and they're not really human at all. Or I should say, I don't tend to hear stories like that from people whose rest of the story holds up. You hear people say I was taken against my will, or at the very least unexpectedly. I was told I was part of some program. I'm not sure what to believe about that, but to have someone just say that they confidently live their lives as a hybrid among us, and that they're occasionally taken. I mean, obviously, that's probably taboo in their culture for somebody to just come out and say, one of them to come out and say that. But I just don't. I don't know. That's a story I don't hear very often, from a firsthand perspective.
Sadly, you said that because just today, Bill, I saw something. I check out Gaia once in a while. There was actually a show on there that they're saying they're talking to people, humans that look you and I are claiming that they are extraterrestrials. I'll have to send you that info, but
There's a book out too. I forget I bought it, and this is 20, 30 years, called From Elsewhere. And it's about people who say that they are hybrids.
yeah,
I mean, well, there are people who come to your conference who say that they're hybrids.
right.
Well, being a hybrid is, I guess, the distinction I'm making is somebody that claims that they're an agent from beings from another planet.
Mhm.
They have the capacity to exit the planet, maybe at will. That sort of licensure of connection, rather than somebody say that they feel that they're maybe not all 100% human.
Gotcha.
Yeah, it's somebody that says that they're on that team, and they're here for their purposes, and they.
Yeah, I wonder though how long they would survive before the government said, "Well, let's see if this."
Yeah, there may be
I don't think that would. I don't think they would come out and say that.
Yeah, that's what I think. There might be
without they be in danger.
Yeah, something in their contract says you can't say that.
But if they were always here, I'm thinking about a boy raised with a wolf pack. Does he know he's not a wolf? Well, it's going to be obvious that he's different, but he's going to relate as what he grew up with. So are there people on this planet who grew up believing they are totally human, who possibly aren't 100% human? And would they know?
Oh, I have no doubt that that's probably there. I just think that if they were public about that, and if they were taken seriously, you wouldn't hear from these people again.
Right.
That's all I'm saying.
Right.
You probably would not hear from them again.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Oh, well, years ago they'd be locked up.
They may be locked up now, but
if
they were taken seriously, and if they could,
right,
whatever metrics it were, whether it's telepathy or whatever you could do, not unless you were recruited to work for a certain governmental agency, but you would not. That would be a nightmare.
Yeah, you'd be studied for
the
sure.
Governments of the world to find out that for sure. People are publicly saying now that, and they could prove that. That would be interesting.
It calls to mind that movie K-Pax with Kevin Spacey.
Yeah. I saw that.
Yeah. Makes me wonder how many people have had their DNA done. And I'm not going to bring up any names, but I know some people who have quite a bit of unknown DNA. You'll have a certain amount that is European, a certain amount that is Irish, a certain amount that is Native American, whatever. And then you have some that is unknown.
Well, good. When they took the elongated skulls in South America, there was 45% of the DNA that was unknown. So they couldn't figure it out.
So that's something for our listeners. If you've had your DNA done and you have quite a bit of unknown, let one of us know. We won't tell.
Yeah.
We won't tell.
Hey, Michael and Bill, what was the name of the gentleman? Thor.
Valiant Thor.
Yeah. Now.
Frank Strange's Reverend Frank Strange wrote about this man.
Yeah, and somehow if he was extraterrestrial, He avoided getting, as far as I know, getting locked up, but he might have had some, backing. So, but they say he went into Congress, talked to them, and told them a lot of things, but he came right out and said he was.
Mhm.
And a lot of people said he was that met him.
All right, so let's go to the next clip.
I think it's a non-war way to take over. They just gradually adapt.
Why are they taking over?
I don't know. I feel like I want to say if they get integrated into the human population enough, they can get access to resources.
What kind of resources?
Water, minerals.
Yeah, so literally she's saying she thinks it's a non-war way to kind of take over. Almost, maybe it's a concept of weeding out the bad parts of the human race. That's my kind of take on it.
Yeah, and in a strange way, that makes total sense to me. That they would, it's a way to evolve the human race by, integrating other beings with the humans. Yeah. And have a
So does that justify the violation?
No, it doesn't, Reverend. But I'll tell you what, I don't know.
I'm
if
just being devil's advocate, though,
Yeah.
because we were
Yeah.
like,
But I'm saying,
oh my God, this is not that great. And
yeah,
now,
yeah.
things happen.
I mean, you think about this.
I mean, I don't know. I'm just asking.
It's something that I might not want to think about, but when she mentioned that, it makes perfect sense that it could be going on, and a non-physical or a warlike way to take over a planet. I mean, I mean, the possibility is there.
Well, and I mean, it's not. I'm not saying that the way they do it is the greatest. I said last week, and the whole violation thing is an issue with me. But if it's
So the
creating
ends will justify the means.
Yeah,
possibly. I mean, if it's creating a different being, part human and part whatever, is this the evolution that we are facing? And is that the way that it was meant to be all along?
and if we laugh about it, but it's really scarier and shit. I'm sorry, it is. Think about it.
It just raises so many more questions because, okay, we're talking about one species, right? One race. So we can't say that all of them are doing it for this way.
Right,
You know what I mean?
right.
It's easy to paint with a broad brush. So what we're saying is what we have in front of us that Mary's presented is that these particular people, maybe they're a subgroup of a larger group, we don't know, but they are doing what you hear all through from the beginning. I wish Bud was here in my room because this is what he was talking about. And so it raises some ethical questions, from our perspective as human beings and living in this body and stuff. But you also want to keep it confined to this. For what we know with this particular species, they're not Nordics, they're not reptilians, they're not, Arcturians. This particular species, we don't even know. This is what they're doing.
Mm-hmm.
This is what they're doing. Okay,
Right.
we don't know if this is some plan that all extraterrestrials do, and they're trying to weed out and raise the vibration of the human race. We just know what she's telling us from her experience here.
Yeah,
True. Very
Yeah,
true.
yeah. That's my concern.
Yeah. And did she say last week what kind of beings these are? She didn't, did she?
She didn't. And I can't remember if it's going to be in one of these clips. But when we talked about it, I went through my almanac, was showing her pictures, and what she picked out was a tall gray.
Mhm.
Now, Bill, how do you feel about that? That was the way to take over a planet.
Well, it's interesting because those that would oppose the visitors are government and military. If this was a benevolent group of beings coming here, and they wanted to commune with humanity, it makes great sense to go to the grassroots level and interact with people that are normal people that don't have ulterior motives or are driven by power or anything like that. It's a way for the two species to connect with one another. But if their intent is some sort of a soft takeover, then doesn't matter um, that amongst the everyday people that these beings are having relationships with them.
Exactly.
It would really matter at the top. They could make as many friends, as they want, but
Yeah.
but would that affect, the resistance from, the powers that be? So yeah, I don't know about that. Not to say that, that the beings work in mysterious ways.
Yeah.
I'm not saying I'm not trying to pick apart the story that's here based upon how it's told. There may be a lot of pieces missing. Maybe there is some level of interaction at the higher levels, which would fit the rest of the puzzle together. Um, though it's hard to say. Definitely giving this person the benefit of the doubt based upon the limited amount of story we have, that if the beings did choose to take over, if they are in fact working at every single level of society, if you will, then they could probably make something like this happen. It's unpleasant, certainly. One would think that the way they could do it is to make nice with us and say, hey, we come a long way. Do you mind if we borrow a cup of water? Rather than rather than be sneaky so that they don't have to be violent.
Yeah.
That's
I mean,
basically it. If they had a
Yeah.
feature, we're sneaky so we don't have to be violent.
Right.
Yeah,
I mean,
hang
'cause
on.
there's some people who would say, like you, we talk about a spiritual transformation, and and some people would say, well, Michael, you know, it was the old Shakespeare thing: the devil hath power to assume a pleasing shape. Hamlet, the spirit I've seen. Maybe some people would say that we're deluded because they're telling us, like, Bill, you come such a long way. You got so much potential. There's good in you. And some of you are transforming. Let us help you. Some people would say we're being the ones being deceived.
Mhm.
You know what I mean? You could argue both. For me, though, I just want to make sure that we kind of come back to the story that she's telling us, and that, and remember, this is her interpretation of her experience. She's saying, I feel like they're going to. She's not saying they are taking over. This is how she's feeling about it. Yeah. I just always want to be the voice that says, okay, it could all be otherwise.
Right.
It's like, hi, I'm your new neighbor. Can I borrow some DNA?
Because again, it's so subjective.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Or, if they started it in the first place, they probably feel they have a right to. They started us, and where we are at now, way back with genetics. Then they're just constantly trying to improve on it and change on it. They're going to do it.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. I'm just going to throw this in. I maybe, I just should sit here quietly. But like, imagine if you raise children, they become adults, and you show up at their place with some sort of feeling that you can continue to mess with them because you created them.
Right.
Well, I suppose. Never mind. I'm not going to tell any stories. But yeah, I mean, it's just at what point do you say, you know, we created you, so we own you? It's just
Yeah, I mean it's probably not right, but
Right.
we're
It's a
not
very
done. We're not done with you.
No, it's yeah, no.
Yeah.
I get it. It's a very human thing. I have a church, and then I'm not going to belabor this because I know we got other stuff. And I have been at my church for about 5 years. This church has been in existence though for about 10, 15 years. The people who founded that church, a lot of them are still alive, and they are the people who give me the hardest time because this is my church. I created this church. And you're here, and we love what you're doing, but this is our church. They cannot stop meddling, and they get
Right.
nervous that we're going. So it happens on so many levels.
Yeah.
And I created this. This is something I created, and so I'm going to keep tweaking it and
It's still mine.
dealing with it.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, even look at humans with animals. We take, for instance, dogs, and we take a Cocker Spaniel and a Poodle, and we breed them to have a cockapoo. Is that the right thing to do? And we don't get permission from them.
Well, yeah, and
what I
that
mean?
argument is
So-
made. We're thinking, we're doing this for your own good, and the animal's going, my God, you're taking me to the vet. They're taking, so I not to equate us with animals, but in some ways we are.
Yeah.
So
Right.
it's a lot of moving parts to this kind of thing.
Well, it's beings messing with other beings. And do we have the right to do that to animals without their permission any more than, off-planet beings? You know what I mean?
Yes.
So just something to...
yeah. I mean,
That was a good point.
and I really hope they don't have a name for us that's like.
I hope so too. I hope so too. Wow.
All right.
Wow.
All right.
She's got us thinking. I can tell you that.
Oh, now I'm gonna play the third clip. Okay.
Okay.
You guys cracked me up.
It's like they're pushing some evolution of something. They're trying to speed it up.
What type of evolution?
I don't know, something they want us to be like.
Be like what?
Able to see the big picture. Able to willing to see the big picture.
What's the big picture?
That everything that we know about is one big organism. It's not a lot of separate things.
Yeah. So, pushing the evolution, of something.
Yeah.
So what is that? The human race? And, what is
Well,
the big picture? Is there more than just the organism?
but what's interesting is that it sounds, we were talking about spiritual growth and whatever that means. But part of that is that getting over the illusion of separation, number one.
Mm-hmm.
Number two, that we are connected. And, she's using the word evolve. She's not saying devolve. So I'm assuming that evolving is a good thing.
Mm-hmm.
But then again, does it, and it's rhetorical, but does it change? Let's say if the end of this is that we become less warlike, that we become more connected, that we get over the separation of illusion, would we still say, would we say that, they take a few eggs, they violate you, but the end game is the big picture.
Yeah.
That becomes the question.
Yeah.
It sounds distasteful, it's unpleasant. Maybe some of us have been through it. But if this is the end game, does the end justify the means? I'm not asking you to answer it. I'm just saying.
Well, is it necessary? It may be necessary for the evolution.
Maybe.
Yeah.
Well, here's an interesting inverse way to put it, I think, is say in their minds, the whole of humanity, roughly 8 billion people, are their clients. And there are a few out of this number that they do stuff to, they mess with,
Mhm.
just to make sure things keep on track. So those who are the experiencers aren't the ones that these beings are, say, serving, trying to elevate. Um, it's everybody else, and the experiencers are just the lab rats, making sure the rest of the population can progress smoothly.
Hmm.
I don't know. I never
Yeah.
thought of it that way.
Interesting
No,
way
I
to
mean,
put it, Bill.
that could very well
Mhm.
be true.
Right. Although
Most of the people get to live their lives, not be concerned with this, and that's their intent. But a couple people have to suffer for the sake of progress,
Yeah.
and those are the experiencers.
right. I mean, let's face it, experiencers don't exactly live a normal life.
Hmm.
And
Yeah.
this is something that
It's hard
You know.
being pioneers.
Well, I wouldn't have it the other way. I mean, I'm sorry. But,
I don't know. Some days.
Yeah, but the point is, you don't get a chance to say. You don't get a chance
Yeah.
to have that.
That's true.
Exactly.
That's true.
Exactly.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
We don't have that.
So
option.
that's good, but you don't really get a chance. This is just what it is. If you don't subscribe to, well, I agreed, or another law, I signed a contract between lives, or what have you. Yeah, this is it is what it is.
right.
Yeah, and getting back to what you said, Michael, about really, I mean, we're on this level, we deal with duality,
Mhm.
good, bad, light, dark.
Yeah.
I think the next step in evolution would be to go beyond that separation.
And that's what she's saying. That
Right.
in her opinion, and she's saying that that's what she thinks is going on. That we see a bigger picture.
Mhm.
That we get past this illusion. My words of separateness.
Mhm.
And she is using the word evolve, so that usually means you're going towards something and becoming some type of transformation.
Mhm.
The
So,
law
yeah.
of one. Yeah.
I think there's an interesting sort of analogy from Arthur C. Clarke's Childhood's End, where he
Childhood's
says
End.
that everyone sees themselves like on an island or a continent or something like that, and they're separated because there's
Mhm.
water everywhere. Well, what happens when you drain the water? You would see that we're all connected.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah.
What a concept.
Mm-hmm.
There's some things. The book is, if you go looking for it, just a fair warning, it's a bit dated, mid 20th century viewpoint.
Yeah, I have it right. I have it right over here. I got the movie.
Hmm.
Yeah, it's a good study. It is dated, but it's a good book.
And if we can learn how to
Alright,
swim
so-
too.
Right.
Okay.
Let's
Sorry,
go to
Mary.
the fourth clip.
I think they want everybody to share, and there are some things out there that don't want to share.
What things don't want to share?
There are things not from this, not necessarily from another planet, but they could be, but also from another dimension. And some of them are jerks, just like some humans. And I think that some of the jerk humans work with them,
When they're working with them, what are they doing?
selling out the rest of the people,
And how are they selling them out?
letting them have access to the life on this planet so that they know how to control it or destroy it or whatever they want to do to it. If, or not necessarily this planet, but any planet that has something they want.
So it's like working with the good and then some are working with the bad?
Yeah.
So
I'm
they
sorry. The
just-
first thing I thought of was archons.
Yeah, they just want everybody to share, and there's some interdimensional ones that don't want to.
Well, because they literally feed off our energy, our fear and our negative energy, and they don't want that to go away. You don't want to starve, but that's what you eat.
So we're like their cattle.
Yeah. So, but I'm not saying that the beings she's talking about. I'm saying this what they were describing in maybe
Other
a
dimensional.
fourth dimensional realm.
What's the name of that energy that they would eat from us again?
Loosh.
Okay.
Loosh. Yeah. So, yeah, I can see where there are probably some beings if that's really going on. If they like our loosh, which is based out of fear and anger and things like that, they would be trying to stop that, our evolution.
Right. So evolved beings wouldn't be as desirable to them.
It's like kids that won't eat your vegetables, right?
Yeah.
They want it.
But I'll tell you, yeah, I mean, all of this, her whole regression is it's pretty deep. There's a lot there. And I don't feel like it's really a lot of new. You know, a lot of it is stuff that we've heard before, but it's all packed into one regression with one person. So, yeah,
One
I
thing
feel
that-
she's.
Go ahead, Bill.
One thing that, at least that we've gotten, at least from the limited clips that we've heard up until this point, is having the experiencer essentially on a single track, whether positive or negative or simply confused. This individual is expressing now this sort of complexity, this duality. This is not somebody where the pieces are coming together. This is, the more we hear from her story, the more the complexity builds.
Yeah.
And the more actors, good and bad, are brought into this, and it's more. It's not focusing; it's expanding, which is a fairly unique thing up to this point. Since we've been doing this, to hear from somebody's story like that.
Mhm.
Reverend Carter, there's a battle going on in the heavens, isn't there?
Yeah, I have to think it through. There's a part of me, certainly this, we hear these stories, so many times and the data. And there's a part of me, and I'm not going to be able to fix that here, it may not need to be fixed, but there's a part of me that says, you know what? It almost makes human beings victims. Like the devil made me do it. The bad ETs made me do it. I'm talking about collectively speaking. There's no responsibility, you see, because they've come here and they've created us and they're using us and da 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 da. And then there's that other part, that this duality, that it's and yes, there's war. If you read Stitchin and all that, there's war in heaven, and those types of things. For me personally, I wrestle with it because of the dualism of it, that there's good guys and bad guys, or good gals and bad gals. And I'm wondering, is that really true? Is that just the way we perceive? We're talking about this woman having these violations, our words, but yet it's coming out to a good end. So if that's the case, then who is really the good guy? Is it really that clear cut? If there's a God, I was raised with, that God was all powerful, omniscient, omnipotent, and omnipresent. But yet, looking back at what I was taught, it was like the devil was more powerful. If you believed in the devil, it was a big scoreboard. The devil 20, the God 17. Do you know what I mean? And I'm raised here in the West, and it's all this dualistic thinking. This is good. This is bad. This is bad. I don't. That all that kind of troubles me. Not just on this level, but in my place in the cosmos and all that. It's so easy to label. So we have, in some ways, it's like, in some ways, what she's saying is like what evangelical Christianity would say.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
It's just more sci-fi. It's just instead of a devil, we got good ETs and bad ETs, and there's still this thing where they're going to take us over and These are the good, and that bothers me because it's almost dressed up. It sounds very more progressive in some ways. I'm using that word usually, but it's really the same age-old story
Yeah.
of good and evil, good and bad, and and so I wrestle with that.
Mhm.
I mean, I believe everything she's saying is what happened to her.
Yeah.
But as far as what I come away with,
Mhm.
I still, the jury's still out for me.
Maybe there's a natural order that was created for evolution that some agendas get thrown in that try to get you off that natural order agenda to progress towards a higher loving being,
Yeah.
And here it's really rough on this planet because we are in duality and we're trying to get out of that. But it just seems like there's got to be some kind of a natural order to things that are supposed to go that way. I mean, I don't know what it is, and people have different ideas about it, but I think hopefully there's a good way to do it.
It's been interesting. The last couple of days, I don't know why. I'm a Cancer. I get kind of reflective, and not that that's just limited to people with cancers. So I don't know why, but I woke up and a couple of days ago, and Joni Mitchell's "Both Sides Now" was in my head.
Mm-hmm.
For the last 3 days. I've been listening to her. As she got older, the slower version, which I like. It's haunting. It's like Barbara Streisand doing "Send in the Clowns," as opposed to Judy Collins or whatever. But it's, I don't know. Like the song, I don't know about clouds. I don't know about life. I really don't. I don't know. And so I'm just getting more, especially with this phenomenon, just more comfortable with, I don't know. I don't know if there's a battle in the heavens. I'd like to think there wasn't, because it's still good and evil, and there's the good guys. I think that's just Western thought, and we're conditioned. And I don't know. I just know that this is a freaking mystery. And so these stories are fascinating. Our stories are fascinating. And you just see where it takes you. You just see how you grow or how you don't grow. And, I know my mind wants to go quick to this is what it means. And this is the solution. But, I'm like Judy Collins, man, I don't know life at all. I don't know. And it's okay.
Well, and don't you think,
Michael?
Michael?
That's what I'm going to leave with, because I don't know. But I know that I just know that it's not as simple as good, bad, battles, and God is in this and that, and we're being taken over. That always bothered me. I left Christianity because of that. There's no agency. I'm doing this. The devil made me do it, and now it's bad ETs are making me do it, and I just don't know.
Right. And I agree. Humans need to take more responsibility.
I just don't know.
Absolutely.
I know this is wonderful, and I'm glad I'm doing it with you guys. That I know.
Right.
And that was what I'm gonna see you in September unless I get hit by a car or my plane crashes. That I know.
But we will all be there.
I don't know. And we'll have lots to drink and eat and
talk about.
Be with friends. And
yeah.
This is fascinating. Somehow it's more fascinating hearing it than reading about it.
Oh, absolutely.
And I get a chance to do that with you guys.
Yeah. And I think that's why we do what we do. Yeah. And I think that's why this show
I didn't mean to wax philosophical, but that's in my mind and my heart.
Yeah.
It's okay.
Well, then it has to come out. That's what this is all about.
I don't know. And I feel good, Socrates. I'm wise because I know I don't know. Yeah. And but I wish we could meet these people and just thank them for the courage to share this stuff. And it got me going a little, and that's good.
Yeah.
All right, I have one more clip for you guys. Okay. One more.
Okay. One more.
So they're trying to show us how to see the big picture
So the bad things don't happen?
Yeah.
Okay.
If they push enough people, nudge them into evolving, then maybe they can take over before the bad people get whatever they want.
So what I hear you saying is by taking the eggs and creating new beings, they're changing the vibration to take over for the good so the bad stay out?
Yeah.
Yeah, so by taking the eggs, they're shifting the energy. And vibration's not the right word, but I couldn't find the right word for it. It's all about that part of evolution and fighting the negative beings is my take on it.
Frequency, maybe.
Right.
There you go. Yeah.
Well, we all believe, well, I can't say we all, many of us believe, I believe, we do have star seeds on this planet. We have people who don't necessarily have 100% human DNA. We have people who have a spiritual or a more spiritual connection with other beings. So, that kind of makes sense to me that it's like an interbreeding to evolve the human race that has been going on for quite some time now. And that's my thinking. And I know we've talked in the past about like autism. I have quite a history with people who are autistic, and I see them as star seeds. Absolutely 1000%. So, is this, do they have, and Bill had said it before, it'd be interesting to be able to take DNA from some of these experiencers and their families and find out if there's a common link there. Is there, something that says that they're not fully human, but enough human to be human? I don't know if that made any sense at all, but I said it.
If we're talking, yeah.
Well, it reminds me of, even my friends who say they're hybrids,
Mhm.
And it's kind of me going meow, but they may not be human, but when they leave a room, they never walk through the wall. They always open the door. And I'll just leave it at that. They may be hybrids, but when they leave the room, they don't walk through the door. I mean, they don't walk through the wall. They open the door and they go.
Yeah.
They have fears. They use the bathroom. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. So because it's so subjective that, if they say that, I'm not going to say you're not. I'm not going to say you're not, but there's no way to verify that. There's no way. I could tell you I'm a hybrid. And on some metaphorical level, we're all made of star stuff. But you're not, you say, Michael, come on, what are you drinking? But you're not going to say I'm not because you don't know. But how do you navigate that?
Well, you read your book, and your book explains all those situations. If you feel this way,
but that's subjective.
Yeah.
That's still subjective, and we're not going to.
I call that.
I don't think it's anything to solve.
I think it's more objective. I think you've got something going there.
I'm just saying it's good. I don't know. If I tell you this is that I'm a hybrid, that's my subjective thing. That's what I'm saying, and so. I raises more questions than answers, but all the friends I know who are hybrids, because when you think of a hybrid, at least when I think of a hybrid, I think of someone who is a little more evolved, a little more advanced, a little more aware. We can use all the adjectives we want. And the people I know who tell me they're hybrids, they're struggling just like everybody else.
Right.
There's no great other great wisdom than what we already know. So I'm not saying they're not hybrids, but I'm just saying, you know how you can use a word like love, and the more you use it, the more it loses its meaning.
Yeah.
And I can tell you that
Does that make sense?
in the Native American culture, one way that we know that somebody is not a shaman is if they come up to you and tell you they're a shaman.
Yeah.
And I'm going to leave it right there.
Oh, no question. But people will come up and tell you they're hybrids.
Oh,
Yeah.
exactly.
So that's what she's saying. You know.
I'm saying
You know.
that's probably not the case.
Oh, got it.
You know,
Yes.
even take Mary and I, for example, you know, we're meeting.
Yes.
But you don't see us running around saying,
Yes.
hey, everything
No, I
about
got
me,
you.
I am the best
I got
medium.
you.
And
No,
I
got
did.
Yeah. There are people who come in and you know I'm crazy. I know people have said that. That's a badge, and you know whatever that word means. You know, I guess they want you to know why I'm far out or I'm whatever. And it's like, let me decide that. You don't need to tell me that.
Right.
You know, so I hear you, Deb.
Join the crowd.
I hear you. I hear you. Anyway, this was good. I love it.
Yeah.
This is a good discussion.
Yeah. Bill, any parting thoughts?
I am a human.
Okay.
I don't believe you.
I love that.
Oh, because I said it.
I don't
darn
believe
it.
you. I don't believe you. I saw you. You were invisible today. We'll talk later. Yeah, I didn't see you today. You can come clean with us, Bill.
Just let us know how you do that.
This cloaking
Oh, my
technology
goodness.
you seem to have.
You know, I
No, this
do
was
want to
great.
say
This was
one
good.
thing.
The juice is flowing.
Uh-oh.
Oh,
Bill
He
is
just did it.
invisible again.
he just disappeared. Oh, there he did it.
You're good.
Now, I would believe that he's not human.
We've had that discussion.
Yes. Well, I live down here.
But
I'm slumming down here, so I don't get to hear it all.
But I
So
do want to
let's-
say a couple of things.
Yeah.
With the woman who was regressed. One thing that I think that we have to take in consideration here is at the beginning of her regression, she was going back 20 years or more.
Yeah. Oh, that's
so-
more. I think more, Deb.
Right.
Yeah.
So as things, and we've talked about that in the past, even on the show, how sometimes as we have different visitors, there is a little bit of evolving.
That's
So,
Better outcome.
you know, by the time Mary got to the subconscious with her, it could have been a whole different time, space, experiences from that than what we started with her regression.
You know, and I'll just say this, and then I'm going to shut it down because I can keep going. You know, there may be instances where we may be on a soul level more evolved than some of our visitors. They may have the technological kind of thing, but we may have something else. I know, you know, they talk about, well, you have emotions and we lost our emotions. And, you know, you hear those stories, but you know, that could be true too, depending on the visitors you happen to run into. That on one level, you know, whether it's ethically or emotionally, we may be more evolved than them in some ways. I'm gonna leave it there because then it just goes crazy.
Yeah.
And I got to go to work in the morning.
Okay.
Okay, gang. Thank you for this,
right, well,
Mary.
that is-
Wonderful.
Thank you.
Everybody, wonderful.
Everybody. Thank
I
you,
love
Mary.
how we get into it, and you know, it's beautiful.
All right, you guys all have a good night. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, Mary.
Thank you. Good night, everybody.
Love you guys.
Thank you for being here.
Yeah.